Well, this idea, by the way, I was musing over this and talking with Katie. I don't ever recall having any talk done without love being mentioned in it, do you? Because it's one of those topics that you hear about all the time. So what I thought I'd do is do something just a bit different to maybe tweak you a bit to experiencing more love in your life. Now, I always hear people say, I'd like a little more love in my life. You can't have any more love in your life. You can't. How come? Because you've already got all there is. You already got all there is. So we're going to talk about love is light and keeping our light shining. And the first thing that come to me, this is kind of strange, but strange things come to me. Put my truck in reverse, and I got that little computer screen that comes up that shows me what's behind me. Now, I never use it other than a quick look because I'm a mirror man from the old days. I love it. I'm an expert at it. But the other day I looked in it, and I couldn't see a darn thing. And why? It's because of the little device in the back had dirt over it. Just like sometimes my sensors, when you get too close to a pedestrian or a car, they go beep, beep in the new cars. Well, they don't work. Your collision thing doesn't work. Why? Yes, it does work. Yes, that backup light it was just distorted, that's all. And that's why I say you can't have any more love in your life because we already got all there is to have. And if it doesn't feel like it, or if it doesn't feel like it's shining, that's simply because it's distorted. There's something blocking it. That's all. So you don't have to do anything to bring more love into your life. All we got to do is learn how to keep our light shining brightly, and that's to remove the obstructions. So here you go. The first one, and I know you all heard it before, but we got to do this again. The art and importance of forgiveness. One cannot have more love in one's life until one learns to remove, which is not love. And that is resentment, anger, animosity, any distortions that we hold within inside of ourselves. Because they're not the truth. All they are is guck covering the light. So it's really important. How important? Well, Jesus was doing his thing, and his number one disciple, Peter, come to him, and Jesus, he says, my brother sinned against me. Shall I forgive him till 7 times? And Jesus said, no. I think he was pretty relieved until he spoke again. No, 7 times 70. So it is a constant, ongoing practice. It is required. Now, there's all those other people and other things that is happening, and it's really easy to build resentment inside of yourself. All you got to do is turn on the news and look what's happening in the world today. You could get resentful really quick. And is that going to help anything? No. If everybody wants to help, then let the light of love within us begin to shine by removing our own distortions. So it's important to forgive, whether you like it or not. And of course, Jesus followed it up with the most important thing. He said, a new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another. As I have loved you, that ye also love one another. So, all the Old Testament's really good in that, but this is the one that Jesus gave. And why didn't he go into a lot of rhetoric and more this, and this? Because that's all that we really need to do, basically. And our whole life and our whole journey is just about revealing that which we already are, unencumbered with all of the negative distortions that we've accepted. So I'd like to move into another area here. We'll talk a little bit more about, well, I guess, one of the things about forgiveness is people say, well, you got to love to forgive. Has anybody ever heard that? I could never start at loving. I just couldn't do it. Okay? So I had to back it up. And I tried liking. some people. That's a good start. But there were a few that I couldn't even get on the like list. They were still on my naughty list. Okay? The thing is, technically, you really don't have to like anybody, or you really don't have to love anybody if you don't want to. There's no requirement. However, you are required to maintain a degree of neutrality within inside of you. If you can reach neutrality and not have a reaction one way or another, then that's a really good start. I got a couple of people on that neutral list, and every now and again they float by me in my mind just to see if I'm walking the talk instead of just talking about it. Anybody have any people float through you like that? Yeah. And you know, that's really the acid test. So if you could get to at least being neutral, just like you're passing somebody on the street, you don't have any feeling, they're just another human being going about your experience like you. So you're kind of neutral. And that's okay. But if you can like, that's good. And if you love, that's even better. So at least work on that with other people. Now, here's the acid test. How are you doing with the person in the mirror? Really, folks, all of that dealing with resentment and anger and animosity with other people, that's the easy work. The tough work is dealing with self and that mind chatter and all of that stuff that we think about ourselves. And, you know, those are the things that we always think about stuff like that. Well, I'm glad nobody else knows what I'm thinking about myself. That's absolutely terrible. Where did that come from? Does anybody do that? No, I don't need hands because I know everybody does. Okay, so then we move into the practice of unconditional love. My mother taught me that because I was a handful. Oh, was I a handful? Yeah, I let her off the hook, and she had faith in me after about 32 years. Then I started to make some significant changes. But it was a long haul for her. But unconditional love is really the basics of learning how to separate the person from the problem. You love the person, but you have to deal with the problem. And that's boundaries and limits and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And if you really love yourself and somebody else, then you'll do it. You won't be an enabler. Isn't that a nasty word, enabler? Because we've all been it, and I don't think anybody likes being an enabler. And it's not a bargaining tool. I'll love you if. Has anybody ever heard that? I love you, but. So if ifs and buts were candies and nuts, I guess it'd be time for Christmas. Got to leave them out of the conversation. Or how about this one? I will or I won't love you if you do or you don't do this. You could make a real big list on those ones, eh? So get that out of the thing. There's no bargaining there. It's got nothing to do with it. It's a personal thing. It has nothing to do with the other person. Zero. So you don't leave all of that trash out because it's not relevant. It has to do with how one conducts themselves. Ernest Holmes in the Science of Mind textbook said about divine forgiveness, when we learn to put away our petty virtues with our petty vices, then shall we see clearly not what either virtue or vice is, but what the truth is. The mind which condemns understands not the truth of being, and the heart which would shut it the door of its bosom to the one who is mistaken strangles its own life, closing its eyes to a greater vision. The biggest life is the one which includes the most. Not that we foster vice or place a premium upon wrongdoing, but that we understand the frailties of the human nature and learn to overlook much. To him who loves much, much is forgiven. And so the other thing to just kind of top that off, I love that statement, is the one that is the big lie that everybody tells themselves. Oh, I find it so much easier to love my children or my dog or somebody else than myself. Has anybody ever heard that before? Why is it a lie? The lie is the only place that can happen is in a reasoning and an intellectual manner. Intellectually, you can do that. But ultimately, love isn't an intellect thing, it's a feeling. And if you got a feeling inside of you, it doesn't matter what. You can't have any more than what you got, no matter how you try to rationalize or justify it or place a premium on it out there. So love yourself if you want to love other people more. It'll be an automatic thing. Okay, I think I got some more good stuff here too to think about. Keeping the inner house sacred. Sacred means being connected with God or a great respect for. So finding that peace and serenity in yourself is not a thing of itself, but peace and serenity is the result of the work we do to release distortions. I always use in my affirmative prayer that I experience peace, prosperity, fulfillment, and happiness. Now, when I started doing that and working on it, did I really know what it was? I only knew what it was where I was, but as I go along on my journey and work with it, then it becomes deeper and becomes a little bit more of who and part of what I am. So it's a natural evolution to do that if you do the work. And thank God, because I got to tell you, I'm pretty intense, if you haven't ever noticed. And this peace, prosperity, fulfillment, and happiness thing really does work. But if you think you're going to turn the switch on and it's going to happen tomorrow, no. It's a lifetime pursuit. And it happens with gradual degrees. And all of a sudden you have an epiphany one day and say, oh, woo, where have I come from? And look at me now. But it's not that. It's the little steps that take you to that point to have that epiphany. So we got to keep that inner house sacred. So minimize or eliminate. Here you are, folks. This has got to go. Fear, doubt, worry, negativity, or judgment. And you're going to say, well, that's easy to say. Yeah, you can't eliminate fear. That's right. You can't really eliminate some of that, but you minimize the impact of it, and you don't invite it to be part of your experience. A lot of the things that I've done where I've been in life and death situations and that, did I have fear? Absolutely. If you don't have fear, then you should be afraid. But one has to learn how to park it and stay and stand in the Spirit and then pick it up and deal with it later. You might say it's easy to say, harder to do, but I had a lot of experience. It took me a long time to get to that point, and I've had a lot of great demonstrations by using it. Practice or think, be proactive. And my 3 favorite no's: no blaming, no justifying. You don't have to justify anything. If you feel, I can't justify how I feel because I don't know sometimes why I feel that way. And the big one here, folks, this will save your bacon more than you can realize. No attachment to outcomes. Don't get attached to outcomes. Okay? I had to learn that the hard way. I guess we all do, right? And to work with it, that's one of the greatest tools that Ann and I work with on a day-to-day basis. Be proactive and also be solution-oriented. For every problem, there's a solution. And for every problem, there's a bigger one. We get to choose who we serve. So those are just a few little things. And remember, that inner house is sacred. One of my favorite lakes is Bow Lake, right at Bow Glacier Falls up in the Icefield Parkway. And what I love about that so much is when there's no wind and I get the reflection. I think it's only been there twice in my lifetime where I got it. And last year was one of them. I got unbelievable, spectacular shots. And a lot of time there's a little distortion or a big distortion. Now the question is that beauty there? Even if the distortion, I can't see it, I can't experience it, but it's there. It's there. And if I remove the obstructions, then I get that clarity. And really, that's how it works. We remove the instructions, and that thing that we call love reflects from in us out into our life, and we see it all over the place. It's not that gives us the love. Wrong. It's this that gives us the opportunity to experience love with all the life around us. So it's really not the thing itself out there, it's the thing itself within us. And I was telling a couple of people before, I'm going to close with this right now. And I was telling a couple of people before this, when I come across this, I really didn't like it at all. And so I read it a few times, and then I knew I had to share it because it's really relevant. And I hope you don't like it, but I hope you hear it, and I hope you work with it, because it is really good and so true. An unhealed person can always find something to be offended about in the actions or words of others. I didn't like that. A healed person understands that people's actions or words have nothing to do with them. I don't like that. And this is it. Each day you get to decide which one you'll be. So take those words and, if nothing else, use those and reflect what you're doing in your coming week and your experience, and just see about the truth about whether I am healed or unhealed. I want to be healed, but I think I'm a bit of a heel because I'm unhealed in some of the areas there. So I know for you, as I know for myself, that the divine presence of good and God is in me, in you, in each of us, right here, right now, expresses by means of us, through us, in our own unique and special way. So we're good exactly the way they are. I accept it for myself and each year, and I know it to be so, and so it is.